Well, Ann-Britt, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here because we're going to talk some deep stuff today, which is really crucial for anybody today. Anybody who's in business, anybody who wants to live an amazing life. And that's what it's all about. Before we get started, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Okay, yes, I'm Ann-Britt and I live in the south of Sweden. And I'm a life spider coach and I'm also a field practitioner. In field, I work with my horses as teacher. But in life spider coaching, I work with women to empower them to be successful without overwhelm and to bring out their driving forces that we so often as women have to push down because, we hear we are too much. So I want to strengthen that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure when you said life spider coach, the woman went like,
Yeah.
What? Life spider coach? I'm sure they had the exact same expression as I had when you and I first met and you said life spider coach. So before we get into that, talk to us a little bit about how you got started, because everybody had this moment in their life where things pivoted, something happened where they decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to start this business. How did that look for you? And how did that transpire into where you are now?
Well, it's a long story. I'll try to shorten it down. We lived in Stockholm. I now live in the south of Sweden, so Stockholm is about in the middle of Sweden. I had my own business as a tailoress. I was making these fabulous dresses for people who went to Nobel Prize dinners and so on. So I really had a lovely business. And my husband was a CIO of a big international company. And we, sort of got fed up with that. And we were starting our business breeding horses, Spanish horses. And we decided to move back to the south of Sweden, where we both came from. So we started with, I was having clinics with horses, and when you open up to things, or to the universe maybe, we decided to stop our breeding, and it was a very depressing time actually, because we loved our horses. Europe was in a financial crisis, we couldn't sell our horses. But once we took that decision, to just stop, something else opened up, and so we started a new training, learning to be field practitioners and work with our horses as teachers. But I felt I needed some more coaching skills. And the same there, I just saw an advertisement in black and white about life spider, and I thought, that's it, that's what I'm going to do. So I just listened to my intuition and just jumped and did a training. So I've been a life spider coach for 2 years almost now, and a field practitioner for 4 years.
That's amazing. And I think what I really like about your story is the mere fact that you felt that one door closed and then another one opened up. And I do find that people sometimes feel that when that one door closes, they just stand in front of that closed door and go, now what? Now what do I do? Instead of looking into other directions, seeing that there is another door and a better door that's opening up for you. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
So talk to us about life spider coaching. This is really intriguing. And I'm sure this is the question that everybody's got now. It's like, what is life spider coaching?
Do you use spiders? No, we don't. But what we have is like a model of a spider. So you have the body of the spider is your essence, that's your soul, where everything originates from. And then you have 2 support legs in this model, and that's your where your work is, where your health is, if you're married, you have your family or whatever. So that has to work in your life. Otherwise you're not ready to do the life spider. So the other 6 legs, they are 3 different sections. So you have the driving force, a life intention, and a life project. So you actually have 6 different projects, and you often hear you can only have one. You can only have one purpose, but here you're allowed to have 6, and that was very appealing to me because I have a popcorn brain, so I'm a bit like this. I can actually have 2 of those legs active, because you can't have all 6. That's a bit too much. So those driving forces, those are the ones that you usually have to, or you don't have to, but usually push down. You hear that you talk too much, or you know it all, and you should just be quiet because other people, and so on. So that's the fun part, I think, to know that it's okay to be a diva, but you have to combine it. You like that, don't you?
I do. I love the way you said it. It's okay to be a diva.
Yeah. But the thing is, in the Life Spider, you combine your driving force with an unselfish intention. So, I mean, if you are a diva, it's okay to shine if you do it for other people. Because if you have many times when you have a life intention, you're using mostly feminine energies, and you need those masculine driving forces to get things done. So you can't just sit there and meditate and think that something is going to happen, because you have to use those driving forces. But you have to, everything should be in the balance.
So I find very interesting what you're saying there, because I always heard also the other opposite is very true, where women in particular start using very much of the masculine energy as well, and they don't tune into their feminine energy. Yeah. And have you seen something like that as well?
Yes, of course, because we are supposed to be doers today. That's how you come forward. So that's the problem. We are using too much of our masculine energy, and men as well, because they have to use their feminine energies as well. I mean, you have to have the balance. So it's not about men or women, really. It's about the energy.
Yeah.
So I think absolutely we are using too much masculine energies today. That's why the world is like it is today.
So I love the analogy of using the spider in order to explain those different legs, because I think it's really important, and particularly what you're saying, because when we talk about the projects we have in life, people think like, oh my gosh, I'm stretching myself too thin. There's too many things that I have to do, too many things that I've got to complete in life. But it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You don't have to overcomplicate all these projects. It is things that need to work in harmony together. And it's like you say, they basically hold the spider up and they help the spider move forward, but they've got to work in synergy.
Yeah. And one thing I also find is when you have your life spider, you are not so competitive. Do you call it competitive anymore? Because you don't get triggered by other people's driving forces, and you realize that you mean everyone is unique. So I mean, if you have your own business, my clients come to me because they like me and my way of working, and I mean your clients come to you because they love you. So I don't see. I was very much more watching my stuff before, but I'm not anymore because
Yeah, I like that. I say the same.
Yeah,
I say the same to my clients as well. Is if you are starting to think about what makes you unique, what makes you stand out from the competition, well, just look at yourself in the mirror, because you've got a different smile, you've got a different way of thinking, way of talking, and that alone makes you unique, like your DNA is.
Yeah.
And because of your uniqueness, your expertise, your skills, your strengths are different. But that you can then incorporate into your business, and that is what makes your business different and unique. And if you enhance that, that will make you stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
But also, it's coming from the mindset of abundance. There's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And this is a big thing for me that I'm working on with my clients. Is there's always abundance. Yeah. Now, what you said translates and segues kind of nicely into what I want to talk about. And you said this, and I kind of had a tongue twister there. It's how to become your youest you. And I said it right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's what we've talked about now, that, you know, when you have your driving forces where they should be, and, you know, you have the power, and you're brave enough to use them, you will be your US you. Um, and, and also, like I said before, I mean, you don't compare yourself with other people. So it's a way of being unique.
Yeah. And that is kind of like a journey that we have to go on, isn't it? Discovering who you are authentically, discovering where you feel at your most comfortable, where you are confident enough in order to show up. I find this in particular with the online world today, when I speak to my clients, they always have this fear of visibility, fear of what other people are doing, and them comparing themselves to those kind of people all the time. And for me as well, I went through a phase like that. But when I discovered who I was, and it's so much more, it's so much deeper than just using those words. But when you discover authentically who you are, and that story that you are, that you can tell people, it just makes life so much easier, doesn't it? Just zoning in on who you are and what you can do and what you can achieve yourself.
Yeah, it's a sense of freedom. And as you said, I mean, so many people are working online. I mean, I do my coaching online, so I can work with people all over the world. So, I mean, why worry? I can't have 1,000 clients a year. And I mean, I suppose neither can you. So, I mean, it's enormous. The market is enormous, and it's like, it's the same for all of us. So, you know, why should we be so protective about everything?
Yeah.
There is enough.
It's true. It's very freeing. It's very freeing going down that road of discovery of who you are, your own uniqueness. And like you said, your US to you. I love that. Yeah. I'm going to use that from now on. But I think the idea is hold on, let me backtrack a little bit. What would you say to somebody who's now going through a phase of trying to figure out who they really are? Do you have a tip that you can basically give them, or two, as to what they need to do just to zone in on their uniqueness?
Well, this is a process. It takes about 6 months to do your spider, but you can always, you know, tap into yourself and try to find your feelings. So, I mean, if you slow down and don't do all the time, but tap into your heart and you know, how does it feel? So if you have two possibilities, you know, just try them and take one and bring it into your heart and see, you know, nah, doesn't feel very good. And the other one maybe, oh yeah, I can really feel, you know, this is so good. So I think we have to listen more to our, if you want to call it intuition. I mean, intuition is just whatever you have learned over the years. So it's nothing woo-woo about it. So listen to your heart. Because that will tell you.
Yeah. No, I like that. Something that I read as well is they say that your emotions are obviously, as we know, very much key in your life. And whenever you experience a negative emotion, basically that is just an indicator for you that whatever position or whatever situation you're in at that moment is not aligned with you.
Yeah.
So you need to use that negative emotion as an indicator to then switch over to the positive emotion, switch over to the emotion where you feel you're aligned and what you feel is, you know, showing you the right direction. And when I read that, it's like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And personally, for me, that's what kind of helped me as well to kind of discover a bit more about who I am. So as an example, we spoke earlier on about people comparing themselves online to other people. It didn't feel good. And then when it didn't feel good, I was like, okay, what is the indicator here? Why doesn't it feel good? It's because I'm looking at them in a different way. I'm looking at their success and I'm comparing myself to it. And you start digging a little bit deeper into it. It's like, okay, now that I kind of pinpointed that out, what direction do I want to move in? How do I want to feel? And that kind of steered me and helped me in order to discover the path, discover myself a bit more. But I love how you're saying it is tune into your intuition and see how you feel about things all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we're working with the horses. We say that, they are so good at emotional agility. And we are not usually as people, because you said negative and positive emotions, but like you also said, emotions are just information. So, I mean, if you feel fear, it's just really look into, is it really something that you have to run away from? Just look at it and, what's happening. So if you start to see, I mean, for some people, happiness is not a positive emotion, because I've heard it several times that whenever I'm happy, something bad happens. So that's not a positive emotion for them. So, I mean, we put these labels on everything. But when you start to do this agility, it's not so dramatic anymore. It's okay to be, sad. You have to look at the sadness and see, do you have to grieve? I mean, we are very bad at that in our society. And people are they find it very hard to talk to people who are grieving. And it's just that you have to go through it. So, I mean, there's nothing negative about it. So the horses have actually learned me a lot there.
I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about the strong driving forces, because when we talk about strong driving forces, most people will go like, okay, what does that mean, number one? But also, how does that attain to me?
Well, usually we think of them as something negative. And that's because we are not sure about, well, you have to, suppress your ego. And the driving forces are really, I mean, your ego, but here it's okay to strengthen it instead. So, I mean, if you are not sure that you are a diva, for instance, you get very triggered by other people. But when you know and you feel it in your body, then it's like a natural part of you. But you know when to use it. I mean, you're not a diva everywhere, but you're a diva here in your podcast. I mean, you should shine. So, yeah, I think it's like they talk in psychoanalysis and so on about your shadow. It's a bit like shadow work. You have to know your, should I say it? Because there's nothing bad about it either, but you have to use it in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that as well, because when we talk about the ego is very much an external thing. It's an external influence almost on your ability as to who you are. And that's why people always have a negative connotation when it comes to the ego, because it is an external thing. It's something that you really can't control. Where the forces that come within, and as I'm saying that, I'm sure so many people are going, what forces? And they're thinking of Star Wars and all of those kind of movies and stuff. But the forces that come within you is so much more powerful, and you've got absolute control of that. As to how you want to shine. You were just saying now, me and my podcast, shining. And I'm like, yeah, I do shine on my podcast. I do feel amazing when I do my podcast, because it is a passion of mine, but it's coming from within. It's a force that comes within that is, it's linked to desire, because I absolutely love doing my podcast. It comes to passion. The known ability that I can control and do something amazing with it. But that is not ego. That is all from internal. That is all the emotion, all the passion that is shining through the energy, through the vibrations. And that is what I think is so much more powerful than anything externally. Anything externally can't influence you if you don't allow it.
Well, it's ego, but not in a bad way.
Yes. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you say if you are know-it-all, I mean, you want to show this and show that. I mean, it's okay if you're a teacher. It's lovely. You have to know better than me, because, I mean, you're my teacher. So then you should use it in that intention to to teach other people, for instance. But when you don't have it in place with the intention, that's when you go on Facebook and, you know, criticize people who can't spell correctly, or they do this and they do that. I mean, then it's not very nice anymore. But I mean, yeah, so you have to combine it correctly.
Yeah, and I think that's really good, because I want to talk about life intentions and life projects. And you've nailed it on the head there, because it's with the intention that you're going out there, which dictates that source. So talk to us a little bit about the life intentions, and then also, you know, life projects, because we spoke about projects a little bit earlier on.
Well, the life intentions, I mean, if I take one of my legs, I have the driving force, being, I think it's in English, being the worst. It doesn't sound very good, but with this, I want to eradicate dictatorship. So, I mean, to eradicate all violence against children and women. And then, of course, I have to have strong driving force. Otherwise, you know, nothing will happen. And my project in that leg is my own territory. So it can be this, you know, it sounds crazy, but for me, it's, you know, means something. So your spider will mean something to you, and maybe not to me. So I mean, it's your unique spider. So the projects can be, you know, like, I will not be able to fulfill them. Maybe in 500 years, some other people will do it, but you know, they can be so big. Like I have there shouldn't be any famine on Earth, because I know, I mean, even now there's enough food and money for everyone. It's just that we don't. How do you say? You don't. When you give the same to everyone.
Charity?
You don't ration it, or you don't properly. So I mean, you have 80% of people don't have very much money, and the other 20% have all the money. So I mean, that, like we said before, there is abundance, there is food. We are throwing away food in our country, and I mean, other countries that don't have food, people are starving. So that could be a project. I mean, it's crazy. I know I will not be able to do it, but you know, I can start it. I can do something. Like I did charity coaching for a microloan foundation. I mean, that's also in my intention, to have women to start their own business. So this was in Africa. I think we were 130 coaches all over the world who gave away our time. So people paid 25 pounds for a session, and that actually is enough money for a woman in Africa to start a business.
That's amazing.
So I mean, that's in my intention. So I mean, you see where I'm going, that you know, you can do small things, and you have to start. I mean, we have to do something, otherwise, you know, nothing will happen. So I mean, if I'm going to wait till I can, you know, eradicate famine, then I wouldn't start, because I know I wouldn't be able to do that. So I mean, I have to do these tiny steps, baby steps.
Yeah, and I like how you're putting it together in the life spider, because you know, those kind of projects, those life projects, they can also incorporate business, because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We are talking about business owners.
Yeah.
We are talking about having and establishing a business, but it's got to connect, and it's got to work with your life. And we won't go into prioritizing and all those kind of things, but whatever project you're taking on, it's got to work with your business, but it's also got to work with your life. And what you said makes so much sense, because it comes back every time to persistence. Whatever you decide to do, if it's aligned with you, if you're passionate about it, then be persistent, see it through, work on it, have the goal in mind, and just work on it. But also remember that one leg that you're working on, it's linked to the other legs. It doesn't mean, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't mean that you're going to overwhelm yourself and go, oh my gosh, do I need to have 6 projects running at one time now? No. That is not the case. It's about how they're linking and how they're working together in order to move you as the individual forward. But it comes back to persistence at the end of the day. Decide what it is that you want to do and see it through.
Yeah, what I find with a life spider is that you don't get overwhelmed because you have a plan, you have a strategy. And I think if you've done your spider once, you have it for life. The only thing is that you find that you can twist the driving forces a bit. They can be a bit stronger, or of course, you change a bit in your life intentions and so on, but it's still the same. And whatever you are interested in, maybe you find something, I mean, 2 years' time, you find you're interested in this or that. And then when you look at your spider, you can see that it's actually in one of the legs. It's just that leg hasn't been active. Because you had 2 other legs that were active. So I think you only do it once. And that's why I also work, without overwhelm. I think so many women are completely overwhelmed today because they are doing too much and they don't think they are enough. That's what I meet in almost all my clients, no matter what I work with, or you mean even with executives, they don't think they know enough. They think they have one more training or
No, it's very true. But I think what I'm fascinated about the most is, as people are hearing this and they've got this little spider image in their head, they're going, well, if you're saying that everybody's spider is unique, I wonder what my spider is like. I wonder what my legs are in my life and in my business and how I put that together. And I think what we're going to do at the end of the podcast is for all the listeners here and everybody watching this, we are going to give you an opportunity to have a discovery call with Ann-Britt. But also at the end of the day, you've got to decide what you want. You've got to decide what the projects are that you want to put together and how they're going to work and function together to take you as the spider, to take you forward, to move you forward in life and in business with passion, with the desire to reach the dreams, the goals, and everything that you want to do and become. I think the other question that I have for you is if we can tap in a little bit more into the feminine energy. One of the things that I particularly like doing every morning, for those of you who know me, I say this a lot, but I meditate every single morning. And I do find personally that is a way for me to tap into my feminine energy, because I'm an active doer all the time. And I have this kind of way of just using my masculine energy the whole time. But the only time I really feel that I need to sit back, tap into my feminine energy and just be, so to speak, that works for me to meditate in the morning. Would you agree with that? Or do you think there's some other ways for those maybe who's listening and going, I don't really know meditation, or I don't know how to meditate?
Well, I love meditation. I think it's the same that people think you have to sit for 1 hour, but you don't. I mean, you can meditate for 5 minutes. So I mean, you can meditate while you're walking. So, I mean, we can all do it. We don't have to set aside 30 minutes or 1 hour to meditate. So I also have a membership with Meditations for My Stable, because then you don't even have to close your eyes. You can watch the horse. And it's for 6 or 7 minutes. I mean, we all have time for 5, 6, 7 minutes. But of course, it's very beneficial if you can do it for 20 minutes. So, I think to quiet your mind. And also, when I talked about intuition, you have to quiet your mind. Otherwise, you will not hear it. You will not hear your voice from the heart if you are like this all the time. So I think meditation is a very good thing.
Yeah. And what I sometimes say to some of my clients, because when they're starting out and I talk about meditation, for some of them, they go like, oh, I've never meditated before. I heard it's very hard. It's like, well, no, it's not. We go through a coaching session. At the end, I say, listen, go make yourself a cup of tea. Just go and make your cup of tea and sit for 5 minutes, and everything we've discussed, just let it sink in. And then they come back to me the next session and they go like, oh my gosh, that was brilliant. Just sitting those 5 minutes and just having everything sink in. It's like, well, you just meditated for 5 minutes. That was it. And then they realize like, oh, it's not difficult. It's something that I can do. So for anybody who's listening who knows that I do a lot of meditation, who's been thinking about it, or even if you do it, or even if you've never tried it before, make that a ritual just to give yourself a tea break, basically. A couple of minutes where you just sit and just let your mind go. Just tap into that side where you just feel at peace, where you just feel amazing. And feeling amazing is the key here, because it's all about your emotions. If you can sit for those 5 minutes and just feel amazing, look at the sun coming out, look at the leaves on the trees, anything that just sparks an excitement and appreciation inside of you, that is meditation. Now we can go a lot deeper into that, but just those couple of minutes where you just make yourself feel good, that is really a place to start off with. And that's what I do every morning. And like you said, you like meditation too. Starting off the day like that, it's amazing. It's the best feeling in the world. It feels like you can conquer anything that day.
Yeah, I think people are complicating things. I mean, as you said, just make a cup of tea, light a candle, and just look at the candle if you don't want to close your eyes. So I think it's a very good practice. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you listening, go and try it out. It is not hard. Just tap into your feminine energy. And then with that, if you want to know a little bit more and you want to think or learn a little bit more about the Life Spider coaching, then I would highly suggest that you get in touch with Ann-Britt. I mean, she would love to chat with you. She's offering a free discovery call where you can get in touch with her. So Ann, talk to us a little bit about how people can reach you and what they would expect then from this free discovery call.
Well, the discovery call will be about 45 minutes. So we will talk a bit about your maybe your driving forces. I don't know what comes up. For some people, it's the feminine intentions that comes, and for others, it's the more masculine driving forces. So you will have a tiny touch of what the Life Spider is. And you will be able to book it, hopefully, on my calendar. Otherwise, you will have my website and you have my email address there as well. So you can always send me an email if the calendar doesn't work. There are so many time zones now with this online working. So, but you can always reach me on my email.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you listening, if you want to have a free discovery call here with Ann-Britt, the link will be below in my show notes. So you can go to her online calendar, book a date with her that suits you, and then just have a lovely chat with her. Talk to her about your Life Spider. I mean, it's amazing. When Ann-Britt and I spoke about it the first time, she opened up my mind to so many different ways of looking at things. And it was honestly a discovery call. I discovered a lot. But honestly, for those of you who wants to get in touch with Ann-Britt, her LinkedIn details will also be in the show notes below, as well as a website. So either way, make sure you get in touch with her, and I'm sure she'd love to help you out.
Absolutely. Yes.
Ann-Britt, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Is there any last tips or any last something that you want to share with the audience?
Believe that you are unique. You are fantastic, exactly the way you are. So that's my promise to you. You are unique.
Empower that. Absolutely. Ann-Britt, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You and I are going to be in touch fairly soon again. But yes, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure the audience has really, really benefited from this chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.